Whenever I see that feminist talking points are alive and well, in any form, it brings back memories of 2014 to 2016, a more simpler YouTube time. And when I see that, well, it's true, we defeated these bedroom feminists in the old days. They have reconstituted themselves on TikTok, where they continue to espouse their dribble. And thus, we are here once again, where we must do battle with this nonsense. Golly gee. You know, let's start off with the video that sparked the video that I'm going to be responding to. So she was talking about, you know what, no preamble, I'll show you, and then we shall continue.
That story is a solid flex, but it's not my biggest one. My biggest flex is that one time I went to the DMV to get my license renewed, but I accidentally showed up with the wrong paperwork. They tried to send me home, but I stayed and flirted with everyone until I left with what? My renewed license.
She laughs maniacally because she, like everyone, recognized that she could use her feminine charms and the desires of men to please her to her advantage to get what she wants, which isn't remarkable in any way, shape, or form. It's just, it is interesting when you can see this mighty juxtaposition, if you would say, because when someone makes a comment about that, when they talk about the fact that women have privilege, she responds with this.
No, I have actually been thinking this for so long, and women really are living in easy mode these days. You see, after we get back from work, in which we do jobs where we do the same work as men but get paid way more,
Now, of course, she's being sarcastic here, and she's talking about the wage gap, which has been debunked for years now. It's perhaps it might be your first time hearing it, but men don't make more money than women doing the same jobs. Men make more money than women on average because men are willing to work longer hours than women, and men are more competitive in their jobs, and men also strive to get higher paying jobs in general as well, which is what creates the ratio or the perceived imbalance of ratio between economic money between males and females. Now, of course, this is being rather short-sighted, considering the fact that there are more women who are pursuing higher education and graduating both college and high school, number one. But number two, what is even greater disingenuous still, is the fact that people continue to espouse this pay gap when it doesn't actually exist. Because what a lot of people fail to factor in is two things. One, in the same job positions, there is no difference, and if there is, it's usually based on experience and has nothing to do with the person's sex or gender. In fact, it's illegal. The pay gap, I forget when the law was ratified. I think it was in 1973. There's already a law that makes it illegal to discriminate on pay based on sex. So if that is happening, you can already take the person to court. I mean, we've already done what we could there. I don't know what they really expect, but ignoring the fact that, one, it's already been addressed years before they were even born, what women, feminists, love to neglect is the fact that they can pull the resources of their partner without expected return. Socially speaking, women can find males who make even less money than they do, and then have the male socially be required to provide for her, but she is not required to provide for him. Now, of course, any person with some degree of intelligence and worth their salt, of course, would contribute to a household, you would hope. However, the point being is that a woman can find men, and a lot of them do, find men and pool his resources to her benefit. And this isn't just talking about the different type of like foodie dates women go on, where they'll literally go on Tinder and find dudes that will take them out to purchase them free food, sometimes expensive, sometimes just lunch or a snack or whatever. While that does happen, which again, feminists love to neglect, the reality being is that most relationships, again, despite the modern woman finding herself in the workforce and trying to make her own way through life, she still has the expectation that men will be as much of a financial partner. I put that in quotation marks because, again, women are the ones that are still expecting men to take most of that burden, despite the fact that they too will also have jobs. So, go figure. But then some women will try to find men that have more money than them. So, ironically, despite the fact that they constantly talk about how much they want equality, they still are looking for partners that are not equal to them. Interesting how that one works. Long and short is, I'm really sick and tired of women talking about the pay gap. It doesn't exist, number one. And number two, it's negligible because even if it does exist, women pull the resources of men anyway. So really, men make more money because they have to make more money because they have to offset the difference whenever they have a wife or a girlfriend.
Can use that money to buy products that society built literally just for us, like pepper spray and mace and daggers disguised as lipstick and those necklaces and those rings with the GPS devices in them that can text your family members where you are when you press them and also call the police at the same time. And oh, those scrunchies that you can put on top of your drink so it doesn't get drugged when you go out. And then also that nail polish that you wear that you can dip inside your drink so that it can tell you if it has already been drugged.
Now, what this lady is espousing is that society is not fair to women because they have to protect themselves from the evils of the world. Which, I'm going to be completely honest with you, is a non-argument. It's not even a useful argument, or it's not even a reasonable argument. Because one, women are not the only people who are in danger in the world. Children are in danger. Men are in danger. Because as it turns out, the world is just a dangerous place. The reason why all those different items exist for women's protection, ironically, which is what you'll notice, is that those are all items for women's protection. And there are no items for male protection. At least no items specifically geared towards male's protection. Now, if we start talking about the different lipsticks to make sure that your drinks aren't spiked, or the scrunchies, or whatever anti-rape devices she's referring to, again, they are specifically crafted items to protect women. Now, what I find particularly interesting is the fact that she looks at things in the worst possible light, and I look at things in the most charitable light. For example, she of course looks at this being an example as to how society is unfair to women and how they're oppressed in some manner because they have to protect themselves from evil rapists that will spike their drinks or try to kidnap them. I look at this and say, hey, there's a society that's literally creating devices to help women protect themselves because they think that they're capable enough to do so. You could also look at it in this way. Hey, we have a society that recognizes there's an issue with different type of women being attacked or assaulted or raped in some manner, so we create tools to help them avoid such fate. What a bad society, trying to figure out ways to solve the problem of women being hurt, kidnapped, and attacked by giving them weaponry and ways to protect themselves. Our society must really hate women, considering the fact that it's giving them options to protect themselves from these bad things. I mean, it's also furthermore disingenuous and kind of a poor argument to make here. One, going off of the first video we made, we clearly see that this woman is not above using her beauty in order to benefit herself in some way. But then she backsteps and simultaneously says, but she also has to protect herself because her beauty is so valuable she might end up getting raped. Of course, I could reply with my tried and true phrase that I got from Spider-Man, with great power there must also come great responsibility. Shoot, I can even go biblical with it and to say to much is given, much is expected, but sure, I could say that. But what's interesting more further still is the fact that, again, our friend here recognizes that she's an attractive person, and she recognizes that she can use it to her advantage. But what she doesn't want to do is accept the responsibility that comes with her being both independent and her being attractive. meaning she has to protect herself from unsavory people that want to take advantage of that, or take advantage of her, or kidnap her, or whatever. The truth of the matter is, this isn't actually a great example of the oppression of women, because we create weapons for them to defend themselves. If women were being oppressed by some kind of system or some type of government, this would be sanctioned, this would be fine, no one would think that it was wrong, and it definitely wouldn't be outlawed and able to be prosecuted by the law. It's not any form of oppression. And worse for the wear, it's not just that it's not any form of oppression, you can actually look at it as a huge example of just how much society wants to keep women safe, because it creates weapons to keep them safe.
And I know it is so hard to be a man, because sometimes we wear makeup and it's like, wait a minute, I don't think you really look like that.
Now, of course, this is incredibly disingenuous, and it really bothers me when ladies do this, because lots of feminists love to do this. They'll talk about the dangers of living in society and how tough it is for women, and then they'll talk about some minor inconvenience as a juxtaposition. Of course, pretending that men can get kidnapped and beaten and raped too. Sure, we don't really like to talk about that type of stuff, but those things could happen to them. And in fact, I remember when Boko Haram went into and raided a village and kidnapped a bunch of women, they did not kidnap any of those young boys. They just killed them. And we could discuss from sunrise to sundown that when female teachers abuse their male students, people think they're lucky to get raped by grown women. We can play this game all day and all night. Truly we could. But honestly, it's not really going to make anything better until we all get on the same page here in saying that evil is wrong and we should fight that, instead of pretending that life is harder for men or life is harder than women. Life's not harder, it's just different. The challenges that men face is different from the challenges that women face. But to sit here and pretend that women have a worse time in life because they have weapons to protect themselves from being raped, or they have to worry about the dangers of being kidnapped and raped, ignores the fact that young men have to worry about the dangers of being mugged and being killed. It's still dangerous. It's a different kind of danger, but it's dangerous nonetheless. And instead of sitting here and pretending that one is worse than the other, maybe we should protect people.
And also, sometimes the flirting that we used as a survival tool.
Oh, that's right. You use that as a survival tool, the incredible low stakes and inconvenient moment of your life. You're using your flirting as a way to survive in that last TikTok you first showed us. Yeah, okay.
We used to get other things. It's terrible. Women are awful, and we're just living out here the easy, free life.
Well, in some areas you are. You guys aren't expected to protect anyone. You aren't expected to be physically strong. You're not expected to literally hold the weight of society on your shoulders and try to solve its issues and problems. In fact, what most feminists love to do is just complain about problems, but never really offer any solutions that'll make anything better. So, listen. I'm not even a proponent that believes that women live on easy mode. In fact, most of the women that do purportedly live on easy mode, the women that use their bodies and their sexualities to get lots of money to coast through life so they don't have to worry about financial burdens, are incredibly depressed, self-loathing, and suicidal, which really shows that as easy as they can get as far as the financial, economic side of life is concerned, their mental battle is never addressed, and they end up hating themselves. And it's honestly not a life worth living. I mean, sure, you can buy a whole bunch of different stuff and want for naught, but if you despise yourself every time you look in the mirror, if you hate the literal being that you exist in, I have to be honest, I can understand women's anguish to a certain extent. To me, it's a bit, I'll be frank, it's a bit confusing to have everyone else really like you, but then somehow hate yourself. Again, I find it a bit bizarre, but I get it. I do. Like, I get it logically. I could get how a woman could be so self-loathing and be so miserable despite having everyone love her. I get that. I really do. And the truth of the matter is, again, I'm not even a proponent of saying that men's lives are harder than women. They're just different. Each individual person's life has its own struggles and its own challenges. It's different. It's hard in a different way. And you have to just figure out how to live and survive in that life that you have. I don't even know if this quote truly even is a Bruce Lee quote. But I remember I read it somewhere on some website. You know, Bruce Lee said, "I do not pray for an easy life. I pray for the strength to endure a hard one." Because when you have an easy life, you don't get strength. Strength comes from uncomfort. Strength comes from strife. You know, you don't test how strong steel is by looking at it. You test it by beating it. You have to deal with bad things to get stronger. Sorry, I didn't make the world this way. It just be. But to sit here and friggin' pretend that you use your flirting as a survival mechanism, which would be one of the worst survival mechanisms ever now that I think about it, because if you really think that men are these rapey beasts who are going to take advantage of you, why would you give them plausible deniability with your flirting? But, excuse me, maybe I'm just thinking too hard about that. The point is, I get it. I do. I get it. But there's got to be a part where we both throw each other a bone. We have to throw each other a bone and just say, this is ridiculous. And it is ridiculous. Because, case in point, you haven't been kidnapped yet, have you? I'm not saying I want you to get kidnapped, but considering, you know, you made this TikTok and apparently you seem to be pretty safe.
Y'all, gender oppression is over. We no longer have to convince doctors that what's wrong with us is not really just inside our heads.
That is, bar none, one of the absolute worst examples of gender oppression I've ever heard in my life. In fact, every person should be required to make sure that the doctor knows that the problem is not in their head. Why? Because doctors help with biological sicknesses, psychologists and therapists help with mental illnesses. So if the doctor thinks that you might have Munchausen syndrome, then they can't prescribe you anything because there's no problem to fix, dumbass. Your doctor has to know. Why do I have to explain this? See, I just can't stand this. It is so insanely idiotic to even begin to try to make that an argument for gender oppression for women somehow. Every doctor needs to know if there is a biological issue with what's wrong with you. They need to make sure it's not psychological so they can prescribe the correct medication or treatment to help you. Continue.
And we no longer have to get men to sign off on our own uteruses.
Okay, so what she's referring to there is that some women want to get their tubes tied and some doctors refuse to do so, or maybe surgeon might be the more correct term to use there, refuse to do so because they don't want to immediately cut off the woman's ability to reproduce in the event that she ends up getting a husband who also wants children. Now, of course, women perceive this as sexism, but I think it's hard to say that this is sexist and more a courtesy or maybe a bit... That might be a good word to use here, but I just don't know what the word is. But it does seem to me the more like the doctor is extending a bit of more foresight or courtesy to the young lady. And there are some doctors, or maybe again surgeon might be a better word, who are going to be willing to do so. But more surgeons would rather have a married couple who has had children already, with the husband also agreeing with the wife to not continue to have children, to sign off on her getting her tubes tied. Which, I'm going to be honest with you, is actually very reasonable. Why? Because to reverse the surgery could cost a good amount of money, and the woman may have never needed to get that surgery reversed if she never got it in the first place. Why? Well, because people's emotions are fickle and people can change their mind, and doctors understand that. So they want to make sure that the person's already reproduced, so they're not having any regrets about that, and they want to make sure that the person has a partner that also isn't going to have regrets. Now, of course, this isn't foolproof because both people can end up changing their minds 5 years after the lady's tubes have been tied. But I can understand the courtesy, and I can understand the apprehension. It's not sexism. And I understand that as a young lady, you're like totally adamant. Boom! I will never change my mind. I commit to never spawning. Maybe you do. Maybe you understand that. But let's be honest. If you really do believe that, then you can just not have sex anymore. Well, there you go. Done. Problem solved.
And we don't have to wait by the phone every time our female friend leaves the house just to make sure she got there safe and didn't get kidnapped or sex trafficked. And
if women truly are terrified of being kidnapped and sex trafficked, I think it might be a good idea for them to find a protector to keep them safe. Huh? I wonder if women can find some individual that's gonna keep them safe. Oh, they could. Huh? I never even. That idea sounds pretty revolutionary, doesn't it? Like a woman could find someone to keep her safe, so bad things don't happen to her. I wonder, where could a woman find someone to do that? I guess, I don't know, maybe she just has to figure out magecraft and summon some type of shadow gremlin or something to follow her around. I don't know. She summons some type of like shadow monster that hides in her shadow that keeps her safe, I guess. I don't know. I guess women, we got to figure out some way to get women to be protected. I don't know how we did it up to the 21st century, how we figured that out, but maybe we got to start consorting the mystic arts, start attaching hellhounds to women or something. I have no idea how women will protect themselves in the 21st century. None at all. Just can't come up with any good ideas that's not mysticism. There's no way women can just find a fucking husband.
we don't have to worry about not getting hired because we have uteruses, and we might take maternity leave, and companies don't want to pay women for maternity leave.
What's this you say? Companies want to increase the amount of profit revenue they create and decrease the amount of cost for their employees?
All because we can sell feet pics. That is, if you're born with feet. If you're not born with feet, then you're kind of screwed. Although there is always sex trade.
You say that, yet, my friend, you do understand that means that you have a method of which you could comfortably take care of yourself, utilizing the resources of other people and leveraging your sexual desirability. That is a privilege. You can say it as flippant as you desire to, but it does not change the reality of what it is. And I'm going to end the video here because I got nothing left to say apart from this. Life sucks sometimes. Life is hard sometimes. We have different challenges. We face different battles. Not just between males and females, but in between males and males and females and females. We all have our own battle. We all have our own struggle. And the truth of the matter is, the grand issue is never arbitrary. It's never arbitrary, or maybe it is arbitrary, and we're just choosing the wrong arbitration. The problem isn't men versus women. The problem is good versus evil. It's that simple. It's doing what's right versus doing what's wrong. And there are evil people in the world that are going to try to hurt you. But what you have to do is gain the strength of character to face that evil when it comes. If you're a woman and you don't want to face that evil when it comes, that's totally your prerogative. But complaining about it isn't going to do anything. And pretending that that evil is the principle of man or some mystical patriarchy that somehow simultaneously works to protect you and oppresses you, it's just not going to get you anywhere in life. Except alone. Or angry. Definitely bitter. Again, recalibrate yourself. Fight evil. Cling to what is good. If you want to protect yourself, do so. But stop acting like you're oppressed, or stop acting like the world's out to get you because something bad might happen. Something bad might happen to all of us. But we have to face it. That's the only way we're going to get through life. And whinging and crying about it is not going to solve anything. Remember, you wanted to be a genie. You got it. Everything that goes with it. So that being said, I just hope you guys got something out of today's video. And if you did, man, go ahead and click the like button. And shoot, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. And as always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.